You look at a bunch of examples from your book to demonstrate the use of some of the methods and objects that we just saw. So for example, in this example, we are trying to draw arcs. So we have an arcs panel extended from the J panel area. We have the paint component method, and that calls to the superclasses paint component method. So we set the color to red by calling the setColor method using the object of the graphics class. The setColor method is a method defined in the graphics class. Similarly, the drawRect method is a method defined in the graphics class. We call that method and pass certain parameters. The first two parameters will show the positioning of the rectangle on the J panel, and the next will show the width and height of our rectangle. This will draw maybe a square. We can then change the color using the setColor method and draw an arc. The XY position, the width and height of the arc, and then the angle that we want to draw. So it starts at 0 and sweep at 360 degrees. So if we look at as you can see, this is the first one. We have a red square and we have an arc inside that square that starts at 0 position and sweeps at 360 degrees. Then we have another, we draw the same circle, we have a square and we have an arc inside that square that start at position 0 and sweeps at 110 degrees. The first one was at position 15, so we change the x position of our objects or drawings. We can change the color. We draw the red colored square and we draw a black color arc inside that square. Similarly, we change the color again. We draw a rectangle and at our new position, and we draw an arc inside that. As you can see, this one moves in the opposite direction, starts at 0 and it ends at minus 270 degrees. So that shows the angle at which our arc is sweeping. You can also draw a filled arc. This will draw a complete dark arc that will be a circle starting at 0 and ending at 360. This one will draw another arc with these angles and with these dimensions. This will be the size of our arc. If we look at the arc, this is the arc that this code will draw. This line will draw this arc for us, and this line will draw this arc for us. As you can see that this is the x position, the y position, the width and the height of our arc, and these two shows the starting and the ending angle of our arc. We set the parameters or the properties of our JPanel area by in the main method. As you can see, this will set the title of our JFrame. We want to exit the frame when we close it, and we initialize an object of the panel that we use to draw arcs. Similarly, in this example, we demonstrate how to draw lines, rectangles, ovals in our JPanel. So we create the class of the JPanel to demonstrate these graphics. For example, this line will set the background color of the current drawing area to this color, the white color over here. And then this method call will set the color of the graphics object to red, and then it will draw a red line using this code. If we look at the code, the output, we can see that the background has been set to white. That is done using this code, and then we have drawn this line using this line of code. We have set the color to red, and we have drawn the line using this line of code. So this is the starting XY position, and this is the ending XY position. We notice that for a straight line, with the starting Y position, Y1 and Y2 should be the same, and this will basically the length of the line, that how long we want the line to be. We then set the color to blue. We draw a rectangle. This is an empty rectangle. This one, a rectangle with blue borders will be drawn. If we want to draw a filled rectangle, a rectangle in the blue color will be drawn. So it's simply the XY position and the width and the height of our rectangle. We set the color to black and draw a rounded rectangle, a round corner, a rectangle with round corners. As we can see, the parameters are the same, but we also pass the angles through which we around the rectangle. So it has drawn a filled round rectangle. This will be the size of our rectangle, and these are the angles over which we want this curve to bend, or we want to curve our rectangle. Similarly, draw a round rectangle. This is an empty rectangle, but as we can see, the curve has been minimized compared to this one. So the size of this curve is 20 and the size of this curve is 50. We then change the color to green, set the color to green, as we can see, and we draw a 3D rectangle. As you can see, if you can see, this is a little raised from the surface. This is a 3D rectangle, and this is a 3D this is a filled 3D rectangle in the green color. As you can see, we again then change the color, and this true will just show if you want to see the shaded form of, or the shaded area of the shape. We then change the color and we draw an oval. This one draws an empty oval, and another one draws a filled oval with the color that we have chosen. And we can set the properties of our JPanel over here in the main method. Similarly, this code will demonstrate how to change the background color of our frame or panel. So if we run this, what we want it to do is, when we click a button and then we have a color chooser that we used previously, and that allows us to choose a color from the panel of colors. So we have a panel, an object of the panel class, and we have set the background to the default color that we have already, that is initialized to the light gray. And we have a button on the panel, and then we add some action to that button, and that action is when we choose a color from the color chooser class, it will show us dialog box and allow us to choose a color. When we select the color, the background of the JPanel should be set to that color. And we add the color panel to the JPanel, and we add the button to the JPanel in a border layout form. So if we run this code, we can see that we have a frame with the button. If we click on the button, it opens a dialog box and allows us to choose a color. If we click OK, that color will be set as the background of this panel. So this is how you can use the color chooser dialog box to set the color of your background. You can also look at examples. For example, we can draw polygons in our J panel. So if we look at this, polygons can be drawn with, so this might be a random polygons, but you can set the values to draw something more good looking. So you initialize the x values and the y values and store them in an array, and then you use the draw polygon method by passing the object of the polygon class to that method, and you initialize that object with the values that you want to use and the number of corners that you want to use for that polygon. So if we look at the polygons again, we can see that the polygons have been drawn at the provided positions and the number of corners that we have passed as an argument to this. The first one draws a polygon with the polygon object. As you can see, we have created an object of the polygon class, and we have passed on that object to the draw polygon method, and that draws this polygon for us. Similarly, we have this, we can draw the polygon, draw polylines with the two arrays as well. So it will draw polylines with these positions and the number of corners. If you see, it will draw this polyline for us. And we can draw a filled polygon. As we can see, the filled polygon is the default color is black, so it will draw a black polygon with these positions and the number of corners. You can also draw a polygon point by point, as we can see over here. So you set the default color, you set the color to yellow, and then you add a point to your polygon object to declare an object of your polygon, as you can see over here, and you add a point to the polygon at each position that you want to have the corner of the polygon on. So once you have provided all the positions, you can pass that object. Once you have added all the points, you can pass that object to the filled polygon, and it will draw the filled polygon on the JFrame. We can also set the font of our text or strings that we draw in a JPanel area. So you have a set font method in the graphics class that can set the font to certain properties, as we can see, and then we can draw strings using these properties on the JPanel area. The name of this font, this is for example the bold, the size of the font. We can set font to different types and different sizes and different designs, and we can draw those fonts in a certain location in our JPanel. As you can see over here, you can set the color and draw the font accordingly. You can also get the name of the font and the size of the font that is currently selected or used for drawing the string on your JPanel. If you look at the output, so as we can see here, that this is the first font that we selected, that we used over here, then this is second font that we used over here, and the third one that we use here over here, and the last one that we used to print the current font that is selected or set to through the graphics object, and we can display that by getting the name of the font and getting the size of the font. We can also set the metrics of the font as well. So if we, for example, we have this metrics font metrics method, and we can set the object of the font metrics method, where we can set the accent of the font, the descent of the font, the height of the font, leading property of the font, etc., and what the current font is. So we can set these metrics for our fonts as well using the font metrics method. If we run this one, so it tells us the current font that is, and what is the other these metrics properties of that font. So for example, if we change the font, and then we again can display these properties of the font using the object of the font metrics class. So you can go through that. We can see that the font class and the font metric class have been imported into this code to work with our JPanel. You can have other examples from your book as well. You can go through this code. For example, you can draw fancy objects or fancy shapes in your JPanel. So if you go through this code, if you run this code, you will see some fancy shapes. As you can see, the concepts of all the objects or the shapes is similar. You can have another, so you can draw these different 2D shapes and using the same methods. If you just have a look at this code, this one is using the 2D methods or the 2D classes, graphics 2D, and you can go through the code. The methods are, as you can see, similar, they are the same, but we use different classes for drawing these objects or shapes. Towards the end of this lecture, we will see how can we draw a happy face on a JApplet. JApplets can be used for drawing shapes or drawing graphics on our in Java. It provides us with a paint method and a canvas that we can draw our shapes on. A canvas is an object of the graphics class over here. We can create JApplets by as you can see, you can create an applet. So it has created a subclass of the JApplet class that you can use to draw your shapes on. Now we have this applet, and we use the simple methods that we just saw to draw a happy face. This paint method is overridden from the applet class, and we have an object of the graphics class that we can use to draw the shapes. So we draw an oval that will be the face, so it will be a huge circle showing the face, and then we draw two small circles. This will be filled circle to show the eyes of our face, and then we draw an arc to show a smile on the face. So these two show the position of our arc, these two show the size of our arc, so it will be the length and the height of the arc, and these are the angles at which the arc should bend. So these are two equal angles. So if we see at the face now, as we can see, we have a happy face. Although if you see the eye might not be at the right position, you can change the position of the eye and redraw the shape. You can, for example, let's say change the position to maybe at the X position to maybe closer to the eye, the other eye. And as we can see now, we the eye is maybe comparatively at the right position. You can change the position, you can change the angles. If you change these angles, you will see a different smile on the face. If you may, as you can see, it might be a different smile than we initially had. So you can play around with the code. You can play around with all of these codes. You can create different graphics and see how the code works. This code will be uploaded and provided to you, so you can play around with the code. So we'll see you in the next lecture. We conclude our lecture 22 over here.